You know, being here in South Dakota, I don't even feel like the world is ending. But today I'm going to meet a subscriber, and I'm hoping to, how's it going? I'm hoping to get a kind of an idea of what small town life is like in what I consider to be the freest state in the Union, you know. So there's that. So far, I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm in a park. Decided to walk off the big ass fucking prime rib I had yesterday. Trying to get through a fast day. I did fail one of my fast days. I ended up eating, but it still worked out to be 24-hour fast. And I'm really struggling with staying keto, but hopefully I'm going to the Badlands over the next few days, and I bought only keto to bring with me for food, so I'll be doing that. Hopefully I can stick to it when I get to the more touristy places. You know, I'm planning on going to Sturgis, so I have a funny feeling being keto there is going to be a struggle. There's so much temptation on the road that it's hard to know if I'm going to succeed or not. It's an interesting little creek. But yeah, I've noticed here in Sioux Falls that life is, not only is life normal, but I feel like the economy here is a lot stronger than the last time I was here. Like most malls I've observed, particularly in New York State, are dead. Like dead. Like every other store abandoned type shit. But the mall here was bustling on like during work hours on a Friday. Hello. Hello. It's a very busy park. If I go off the beaten path right here, let's try it. Hopefully I don't stumble on a camp, if you know what I mean. Oh no, this is an actual trail. Okay. So, is it a mountain bike trail or a hiking trail? This is much more my speed than the paved shit. But definitely, you know, it was unexpected and it gave me a swell of hope, which I know is dangerous in today's day and age to have hope. You know, if you watch the news right now, any news that's mainstream, keep in mind they're making money off of your fear. You know, all of them, even my favorite, which is NTD News, has pissed me off the past couple days as they push certain narratives with repeated fucking stories. You know, you gotta switch that shit off. I'm learning that every day. I'm listening to a audiobook on Stoicism, and one of the top things that the fucking, you know, one of the Stoic principles is do not spend emotional energy on things you can't control. And you cannot control when bad things are happening in other parts of the world. There's nothing you can fucking do about it. And any emotional anxiety, anger, despair that you get out of that is useless. It's a waste of your energy. And if anything, it'll interfere with your life and keep you from living a better life. This is fucking pretty spectacular here for a park, public park. Nice little trail. Could do without the traffic noise, but it's a city park. What do you want? So you got to tune that shit out. You really do. And I'm finding it difficult because it pops up in my feed. Particularly my friends back in New York are especially worried with what's going on. You know, and even though some of those friends are vaccinated, it's very alarming, this power grab, for anybody that is self-aware about the Constitution and freedom. So with what's going on there, it's scary. It's scary stuff, and I'm fairly alarmed about it by myself, but I'm not in it right now, so it's hard to really be worried when I'm in a place like this where none of that is a concern. I know here, with the exception of federal property, because I'm not sure about that yet, we're going to find that out in a day or two, that I can get in everywhere. I can live my life, and at the end of the day, that's really all I want, is to live my life and be left alone. And if motherfuckers would do that, then I wouldn't talk so much shit. But that being said, South Dakota is more free now than the last time. You know, fear is a thing here. I mean, fear is a thing everywhere, and just because you're in a state where the government isn't being tyrannical doesn't mean the people won't be, or corporations. And there are some stores that I noted in the mall that are still wanting you to wear certain things on your face. And of course I didn't go into those stores, and it didn't look like a whole lot of people were going into those stores. So there's that. And they're also doing the honor system on certain other things that people are being forced to do in certain places of the world, including my home state. And you know, what can you do, you know? But adapt and overcome. Don't spend your money at those places. Don't support the companies that are pushing this shit. Sorry, you gotta let them know. That's the only thing they understand. When they make less money, it's the only vote you have in this shit. So we shall see. Anyways, off to Miller, South Dakota. I've never been there. It's a small town. Might be one of those couple stop sign deals, I don't know. Or a couple stop signs in a gas station. I think they do have a park. I'll check out their local park. You know, because you also get an idea of how well the local governments take care of things based on the local parks. And from what I'm seeing here, despite being a state tax free, you know, they do have sales tax, of course, and property tax. Their parks are pretty well maintained, so there's that. But yeah, anyways, on with the fucking adventure and shit. Well, so I met up with a subscriber in a very small town in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota, and I used it as an opportunity to find out what life is like in what I consider the freest state. And it confirms some of what I've already kind of come to the conclusion of, is regardless of where you are, whether the government is being tyrannical or not over your lives, ultimately fear can still take hold. You know, you gotta imagine, especially in a rural town where there's not much to do, people are watching mainstream media and news constantly and getting appropriately afraid based on what they're seeing and not really questioning it. Not everybody's in that category, but at the same time, they have a mindset that's different than a lot of places in the country. And that mindset, you know, they might go and take the necessary required steps, and some of the businesses are forcing it upon people, but it's not a government thing. But they do that, but at the same time, they don't necessarily ridicule the person that isn't doing it. Everyone's kind of got a mind your own business attitude here. And that's the difference between here and a place like New York, where if you're not doing what everyone else is doing, you'll be filmed, persecuted, yelled at, there'll be, you know, public problems and all of that. And so it's still way better than most of the more authoritarian states in terms of freedom. But the enemy of freedom is fear. Freedom is not comfortable, by the way. Freedom requires vigilance. It requires a lack of comfort, essentially. You know, in order to be free, you have to be independent. You have to not, you know, be looking to the government or to a community constantly for support and survival. You have to be able to do these things on your own. So, you know, as I found in the, you know, previous year of visiting South Dakota during this rough time, you know, about half the population here is afraid and compliant and stayed home. And as I noted when I talked to you a little earlier, that now that people have opened up more, but the fear is seeping in based on more recent narratives. So it sucks having to talk in code constantly. So that, as far as that is concerned, South Dakota is still leading the pack in my book of places to go where you're not as concerned about things, if that's your thing. But it's not a place to go if you're afraid. If you live your life in fear, I would not suggest you come here, because you're going to be just as afraid here, and you're going to encounter places, pockets of fear that, you know, will probably try and push those fear upon you if you walk through their doors, so to speak. That being said, we talked about a whole range of things. You know, basically it was, you know, everything I normally talk about. And I enjoyed the conversation. We saw eye to eye on a lot of different issues. Another thing we talked about was cost of living in the area. Food prices have gone up here, is just like everywhere else. However, it's very, very cheap to live in a very small town, whether you're purchasing a home or renting. In this particular situation, she was paying $500 a month for a house that would cost, if it was in New York, even in a rural town in New York, over $1,000 a month in rent. You know, unless you're in a really horrible neighborhood, you could probably get it down to, you know, $800, and that's when you're worried about things happening on your lawn. So, and this town was a nice, quiet, sleepy little town. I spent some time in their local park. I didn't film it. I was busy, you know, doing other things before I went to meet up with her. And I also didn't film the conversation because I don't feel comfortable unless someone explicitly asks me to be in a video. I generally, because not everyone signs up for putting themselves out there, and once you're on YouTube, you're out there, you know, for all to see. And if they don't like what you have to say, they will respond the way they do in New York. So there's that. So it was a great conversation, and I look forward to more. I'm about to get into this 1880 town. That'll be another video, but hold on. So anyway, in conclusion, you know, overall, the impression I got is there's still a lot of fear. It is a cheaper, more peaceful way of life, and honestly, as a part-time nomad, I see a lot of other nomads struggling right now. You know, Unstoppable Morgan just bought a house. Dave 2D bought a house a while back. You know, a lot of the nomads I watch are struggling with being out on the road, and it's a legit struggle. There's times when I've been out there in the truck and I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. This is a miserable life. And sometimes you need to settle down and have a community. And yeah, you can find a nomadic community out here, but even then you're only intermittently hanging out and whatnot. Whereas when you have a place where you're settled, you have full access to your community. Like, say you were feeling like you wanted to be social one day, so you get out and you go to the local hangout. And for me in Syracuse, it's Singers, which is, you know, they're almost like a second family. That's how close. Dysfunctional at times, for sure, but you know, it's nice to have a place to go where everyone's friendly, everybody talks to you, and you know, and you don't really get that when you're wandering. Most people, you get maybe a day to get past the icebreakers and whatnot, but you don't really have deep conversations generally when you just encounter somebody you don't know. So. And I see, like, people like Lex and Riot. I think she just had a struggle with things video, but she hasn't come off the road, I don't think. But she tends to do all the seasonal work, which settles down in specific areas and seems to have built a bit of a community. But it's okay to have a home base. I've said it previously, and if I were doing this, you know, without the community that I have and the friends and family I have in New York, I would absolutely pick one of these small towns, look into it, do my homework, of course, and find a place that's very cheap. And because I'm able to earn money independent of location, a situation like that would be ideal. However, you're also far away from everything, but that if you're a nomad, that's not a problem. So I think that these small, like, I see people talking about cost of living, and they're trying to live in these major cities, in these big, you know, places. I mean, like, you're a fucking nomad. You don't need to do that. You know how to drive. You know how to wander. You can go to town and hang out for a week or a weekend in your vehicle, and then head back to your home base and have all of the comforts of that at a very affordable price. Now, costs are still going up in these areas, but when she told me $500 a month for the house, you know, for rent, I was like, wow. You know, because even in South Dakota, if you go to Rapid City or Sioux Falls, you're paying a lot more than that. So, in the less amenities, the smaller the town, the lower any property taxes. There are property taxes in South Dakota. There's no state income tax. So ultimately, if you can be away from things, and it's not that difficult to do in today's day and age, where you can have shit delivered. Everything is available for you to order delivered. So if you're, you know, shopping's your thing, you know, that's all going away eventually anyway. So, and if you need to get out, you know, you got a couple 2-3 hour drive to get to a bigger town or a bigger city. in a lot of these one stop sign type towns, you know, or one main street type deals with a surrounding neighborhood. Usually, and the other issue is jobs, of course. You know, if you got to be flexible in what you're willing to do for work if you're going to live in one of these small towns, because there's a limited amount of jobs that need to be done. But like I said, if you have remote work, or you're, you know, independent in that way, when you're your own boss, aside from starting your own business in one of these towns, you'll generally have to, you know, take what's available if you want to do that. But the good news is you'll likely be able to afford to live off of, you know, what essentially would be a minimum wage job if you got out there. I mean, $500 a week, a full-time minimum wage job would generally, or $500 a month would pay. You'd still be tight, I think, even at $500 a month. Plus you got electricity and all the other things that come with renting. And home ownership, obviously, you're looking at $40,000 to $50,000, maybe $60,000 to buy a home there, which is doable for most average people. So the American dream can still be had, but you're going to be far away from cities. And honestly, that's the bottom line. If you are freedom-minded, you need to get out of the cities. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to stop this wave of fear and paranoia to removing a lot of your freedoms. And sorry about the lighting. This is kind of horrible. There's nothing you can do to stop, you know, this. The train has left the station in terms of your freedoms. And, you know, it's sad that we're coming to this, that in order to get the American dream, you legit have to flee major cities nowadays, unless you are one of the wealthy elites. And it's sad that that's what things are becoming. You used to be able to pursue the American dream near a city and have kind of the best of both worlds and have it be fairly affordable. Like I said before, the American dream isn't something I'm pursuing necessarily, but if I were to flee New York in the far distant future as a possibility, I would absolutely, as a nomad, find one of these small towns with a very low cost of living, especially if I had nurtured all my income streams and continue to make content and whatnot, and able to make enough to make the ends meet. I would definitely consider living in one of these very, very small towns. And then if I needed more, I would, you know, hop in the car and drive the 3 to 4 hours to the nearest city. And spend some time in the city too, like just stealth camp and whatnot. But that's it for this fucking video. Now the next couple videos, I'm in South Dakota, and I've just now stopped at an 1880 town. So the next video is going to be 1880 town, and, you know, we're doing some touristy cultural shit. Imagine that. And also Wall Drug. I've never been to Wall Drug. I've driven by it. I always thought it was gimmicky, so I'm actually going to probably visit a friend, meet up with a friend there and see what it's all about. But yeah, that's what I got on tap today. Then the Badlands, then, you know, we'll see. More content to come. It's weird having this part of me lit. It's almost blown out. My beard is blown. Have a nice motherfucking day and shit.